Travis Wingoodzo. I am horrified by the modern technologies that we have available to us, and yet we have a whole mass amount of people who do not even bother to take advantage of the access of knowledge available for us. For example, there are mass numbers of people who voted for Trump in this election, and not a single one of them goes to a Trump rally or listens to a Trump rally. Not a single one of them have read one of Trump's books. Not a single one of them paid attention during his presidency to what he did, what he said, and what he wanted to do but was told no. And so you get these people who know nothing of Trump, who are pushing for Trump to be the president. They have no clue of the consequences of him being president. And so it is a mocking joke for those who are black to vote for Trump, those who are women to vote for Trump, those who are LGBTQIAPO+ to vote for Trump, those who are at the southern border to vote for Trump, those who are of a lighter or darker skin than white to vote for Trump, to be homeless or poor and vote for Trump, to be elderly and vote for Trump. It doesn't make sense that people want to be purposely ignorant on a subject that has a direct impact on the consequences for their lives. And it's even worse when such ignorant people have these fantasy delusions about how life will be and how they'll be prosperous and favored under Trump. Completely oblivious of what is coming, of what he's threatening, of what he will do this time, because he knows what he can get away with. The Supreme Court let him go. And so now, when he previously said the Constitution lets me do whatever I want, and the Supreme Court let him go, what do you think he's going to do now? You need to believe him when he says something. And for people to only go to Fox or some other Trump supporter who does videos on social medias or on a website, that is not first-hand information. They are purposely biased to withhold information from you and only promote the favorable parts. And so, despite the availability of knowledge, for people to continue to remain stupid on purpose, thinking that everything will be fine, oh, you're just being hyperbolous, Trump would never do that, he's just kidding. Consequences, guys. Consequences. And so if you have no clue that Stephen Miller, who's put back in again, is a self-proclaimed neo-Nazi, and you don't believe that he's studied Nazi Germany's tactics and is now being put in charge of doing just that, I mean, dear God, guys. And to have Democrats purposely continuing the false hopes. After letting you down, now they're trying to build it up again. Oh yeah, we've got Democrat governors who are banding together. They're ready for Trump. No, you let him in the gates. You will be murdered. You will be nuked. You weren't paying attention to the bigger picture that's going on. You think that somehow Trump is now going to follow the law. He'll go through the legal system, and that's how you'll get him. It's just so pathetic. And even talk now is starting to emerge. Yeah, we'll get him in 2028. There's no more presidency elections. It's it. It's over. He's the last president. And so likewise for Mormons, to be born and raised in the church, to be told even Mormons need to get a testimony of the truth. We can't live on borrowed light. And so they think that the quick and easy way of read, ponder, pray, get the right feeling, you now know everything, is the way to obtain truth. And the consequences are that you deny the truth. You deny science. You deny logic. Had George, just this morning, who, dear God, 60 years as a Mormon, he chose to be Mormon. He's claiming to be an intellectual theologian. And I just wiped the floor with him. He doesn't even know the beam in the moat. Let alone an ad hominem attack. But this is what happens. He never read his Book of Mormon. He never read Joseph Smith. And if he did, he certainly didn't understand it. And any Mormon here who's upset and offended because you're guilty, you have no clue that what I just said came from the Book of Mormon. And seriously. Okay, fine. You want me to prove it, huh? I mean, seriously? You don't know, and so you think you're going to get me. And the church will be true because you got me. It's a fallacy argument, guys. So we have one in Alma 33, verse 2. Behold, ye have said that ye could not worship your God because ye are cast out of your synagogues. What's a synagogue? It never occurred to you when you read this. You're going, what? No, that, what? It's church. Is it? It's a building for Jews. Behold, I say unto you, if you suppose that ye cannot worship God, you do greatly err, and you ought to search the Scriptures. If ye suppose that they have taught you this, you do not understand them. Third Nephi chapter 1. and there were no contentions, save it were a few that began to preach, endeavoring to prove by the Scriptures that it was no more expedient to observe the law of Moses. Now in this thing they did err, having not understood the Scriptures. Mormon chapter 9, verse 8. Behold, I say unto you, he that denieth these things knoweth not the gospel of Christ. Yea, he has not read the Scriptures. If so, he does not understand them. You will not win an argument with me. You automatically lose because you're using Christianity. Because here it is, beginning of the Book of Mormon, 1 Nephi, chapter 1, verse 2. I know you've all read it, and not a single one of you understood it. I make a record in the language of my Father, which consists of the learning of the Jews, so that you would understand synagogue, that the Zoramites, who built synagogues with a Rameumptom, turned them Christian with the Great Spirit. George did not understand this. He knew Trinity couldn't possibly be real, but then used the first creed of Christianity with Trinity to claim that the Jewish Scriptures are to be replaced with Christian interpretation of literal history. 60 years as a Mormon, and he's stupid. He does not understand the Scriptures. No Mormon understands the Scriptures if you are claiming that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is true, and that that's the religion of Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon. It's called religious hate bigotry. And of your own founder and keystone, that just exponentiates the abomination of it. And only those who are guilty are the ones who are upset with me. You're the ones who come and put a thumbs down. You don't even bother to listen to what I have to say. You were offended with the thumbnail picture. You were offended with the title. How dare I go against the church? You have no clue that you have just fulfilled Helaman, chapter 6. How many of you who are still listening and weren't offended and immediately ran away and fled know what I'm going to be talking about? And so, verse 21, Satan stirs up the hearts of those to join secret bands of robbers and enter into their covenants and their oaths, to protect and preserve one another in whatsoever difficult circumstances they should be placed, that they should not suffer for their murders and their plunderings and their stealings and their rapes and their taking away of agency of others. And so they have secret signs, secret words, so that only those who are in their little merry band know what they're talking about. And so nobody gets punished unless they go outside of the band and would expose them. And so they go contrary to the laws of the government. You know, Trump administration is not in conformity with the United States Constitution. The United States Constitution was not set up so that we can be overrun by fascism or communism. It's a constitutional republic so that that doesn't happen. And Thomas Jefferson created the first political party to set it in motion to destroy the Constitution that he's claimed to be a founding father of. And it's the exact same political parties in his one party. It was like they're Democrat Republicans or Republican Democrats, whatever one went first. And so even though there were others that were created over time, that's what it became, a false dichotomy, threatening Americans to pick one. And if you pick another, then you automatically lose and your vote never counts. Or if you live in a gerrymandered state like Utah, your vote never counts if you don't support the gerrymandered districts. It was just sick and wrong to see the final vote tally here in the state of Utah. Local news showed the map of Utah and put the red and the blue colors, and it was just a full-on sea of blood. And yeah, the AI was used for the first time in our voting machines. And so it's not actual counts, it's projections. Right, YouTube? And AI snuck it through, forcing everybody to incorporate it in their systems throughout the nation and then used it in the election. And so, yeah, I'm having difficulty accepting that blacks, women, LGBTQIAPO+, the poor, immigrants, Islam, all voted for Trump in mass numbers. It has to do with a programmer who was a Trump supporter and then sold it to those machines. As Dominion got exposed of having problems, they refused to fix it. What did you think winning to Fox News was going to do to you? They get revenge. And so I see this among Mormons. Mormons stick to their little cliques of those who are like-minded, and they use that like-mindedness to enforce it upon others to join them in their like-mindedness or get shunned. And my West Valley City bishop said that his ward does not shun, and then went and shunned me. And so it's important not to make illiterate errors about Mormonism, because that's what Mormon apologists do, as they tend to be the ones to gather Mormons into their fascist group mentality. Fascism is the symbol of the bound sticks tied together, typically with the axe that cut the wood. You can see that in Congress. It's there on the walls. Why is the symbol of fascism in Congress, teacher? Can you explain? Why is the streets of D.C. the symbol of the inverted pentagram of Lucifer pointing directly to the White House? Can you explain that for me, teacher? Why do the Confederates have inverted pentagrams on their flag? Can you explain that for me, teacher? Teacher! Oh, we're not going to talk about that anymore? Our history books are? It's always been a Confederate state. They were wronged by Abraham Lincoln, and so the Confederates went to war to preserve religious freedom and won. And the head of Abraham Lincoln hangs in the Capitol to this day, under lock and key so that nobody can destroy it. So just trust us, it's there. Yeah, there's a YouTube video I saw this morning recommended about the last witness to Abraham Lincoln's assassination. They had gotten a video clip or a film clip of him, and obviously, because again, you have to know when things were invented and created. Otherwise, you make boo-boos. See, because if you were to go into section 102 and learn about the High Council, and if you thought that, well, okay, we have stake high councils. So that's what Joseph Smith was doing. He was creating a stake high council. You've pulled an illiteracy error. That high council was the administration of the whole church. They were the 12 apostles, called the High Council. And they had 70 to assist them. And that's completely different and separated from the quorum of 12 traveling missionaries, called apostles, who also had 70. So the biggest error I've seen in Mormonism is to assume that what is currently being practiced was what Joseph Smith practiced. And so Mormons automatically believe that whatever this church tells them is true. And you never put them to the test. You never run the test that the scriptures tell you to do. Take the word and see what the results of the word are. When Trump says he's going to do a mass deportation, what are the consequences of him doing a mass deportation? Who is getting mass deported? Is it just those at the southern border? You don't get it. You will not be allowed to protest. You will not be allowed to take him to court. And so with this church, Nelson came out in conference and said, Jesus Christ's second coming is in a coming day. And a month later, Mormons finally found out about it and went, oh, that's different from in the coming days. And yet Mormons are clueless about what the second coming involves. And if I were to tell you mass murder and coups of governments, you'd say, well, that doesn't sound spiritually uplifting. No, duh. But that's what it is. When the prophets tell you that the second coming is to be accompanied with the day that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud and the wicked shall be as stubble, however Malachi is to be quoted. Because they're not using the Jewish interpretation. They're using Mormon Christian interpretation, which is more abominable than Christian interpretation. Because Christian interpretation focuses on a rapture of the righteous. Do you know what that means? Jesus is going to kidnap and hold hostage the righteous, and then come with a mass murder and a coup of the government. So for Christians, Jesus Christ is Trinity, so we can't see him because he's not real. And 4 billion billion people on the earth don't catch on to that. And then he's gonna, and so people are used as the vessels for Jesus to work through. And so Christians believe that Trump is the vessel of Jesus Christ to perform mass murders and the coup of the government that happened, believing that Christians are going to get their kingdom back, put all the LGBTQs, IAPO pluses into conversion therapy. I listen to Fox. They mock psychologists, but just like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, when psychologists works for them, everything's fine. It's when psychologists start using science rather than fallacy that the church gets upset and fires and excommunicates Natasha Helfer. Can't even merge them together as one, dear. You either use science or you are a fraud who's going to end up in prison with the rest of them. And so, there's some more things that I need to explain for Hanukkah, as I'm hoping that that's something else, but it's kind of important and cool. I've had to do this the whole time of the latter days, and the latter days are now over. I've finished my mission. Everything has happened, and it has been just incredible for me to witness firsthand as I'm trying to share it with you, because nobody else knows the learning of the Jews, because of the Christian blinders that are going out across this nation and across the world and in this church. Right, George? And so the Feast of Tabernacles is about the Exodus, and it's got the 15 pattern, the double 15 pattern, as it also corresponds with Passover. And so I'm confused. Everything has already happened in just more astounding ways as I'm now able to go back, like I did recently, going back to 2016 with the conception and going, oh, wow, yep, Feast of Tabernacles for the House of Israel was on the exact same days, just a different day of the week. And this year it's on the Sabbath to Sabbath. And Saturday, it's over. At the end of the day, it's over. And so the scriptures talk about the final day is when the fall and the transfer of authority take place. For the government, that's already happened. The fall actually happened as a thief in the night, exactly as scriptures warned us. But the religion has still yet to happen. Because anciently, the government and the religion were one as a theocracy. And so the prophecies have to be split up to be a dualistic prophecy for both government and religion. And we already know the government part's going to happen. We know exactly what number 3 and 4 will be before they even happen, because they're telling us the Exodus will be a mass deportation. The building of Zion is MAGA nation. The Book of Mormon assures us, which is getting more and more doubtful, because there's supposed to be a murder of the chief judge, but the election was so successful. And so that would have to be Trump now. Or it could actually be the chief judge, which would be Roberts. And so that can only happen if Roberts goes against Trump. But they gave him full reign. All his cases are going to be dismissed. They're purposely postponing them. Oh yeah, we'll wait until after he's been president for these next 4 years, and then you can go through with the sentencing. You have a person who is being put into the greatest power that Nixon has started to convert it to. Which was only an ambassadorial role in the original Constitution. Not much else. He wasn't really wanted, but the South, I think it was North or South Carolina, insisted on having a king. And so they compromised by having a president as the third branch. Whereas it was intended to just be a judicial and a legislature. Similar like the Book of Mormon talks about with the reign of the judges. You have the law, which is a constitution, and all the Congress is supposed to do is make laws in accordance with the Constitution. They can't create laws that go against it. And then the justice system is supposed to judge according to the law. They're not supposed to create a law and overthrow the law that takes away the constitutional rights, like the 14th Amendment, Section 1 and 3, and Bill of Rights number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These were acts of insurrection. And our government did not stop it. They let it happen. And here we are. America has fallen. The Constitution is gone. Joseph Smith is a false prophet now. Not a single Mormon will believe it. They won't even go to the Joseph Smith papers to read his actual prophecy, because the church isn't going over it. You cannot be saved in ignorance, especially when you don't know which scripture that came from. This is just so pathetic. That Mormons, when their lives are going to be upended in the coming day, are going to say, hey, what's going on? I've been the good guy. We voted for you. What are you doing? We're just repeating history. And nobody knows we're repeating history, which is why we're repeating history. Because those who do know the history are purposely making it so that we repeat history. So, but yeah, we are seeing the separation of the states from the federal government. The Democrat governors are wanting no part of Trump's presidency. And we're seeing them begin to realize that they are going to have to be different. Los Angeles just turned themselves into a sanctuary city in preparation for Trump. And so in order for Trump to stay out, California is going to have to secede from the nation. And then Trump will declare war, but California has a lot of military power. So it would not be wise of Trump to declare war against California, because they've got all of the military bases, the Air Force bases, the Coast Guard, and the Navy and Marine. Yeah, that will be very interesting. Trump will most likely just let him go. But he does have access to the nukes. It's a good way to destroy a military. Right, Putin? And so, yeah, the Book of Mormon told us this. And if you're going, no, this was the Lamanites and Nephites, you're not listening. Constantine, the first creed, guys. The Book of Mormon, if you're going to believe its literal history, was before the creation of Christianity. And the book finishes with Jesus coming to America before the creation of Jesus of Christianity. Right, George, the intellectual theologian? And so right there, your whole attempt to try to merge the Jews with Christians fails. You have to ignore information and create information to maintain the lie. And it's just horrifying for Mormons to do this, to listen to them, to read them do this. I mean, just the inverted pentagram on the keystone of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple. How Mormon apologists make up excuses, create new interpretations to lie. And they get a lot of attention from Mormons who are ignorant, illiterate, and so they perpetuate the lie. Even if you leave the church, you're still spreading the lies. How many ex-foes are telling never-mos that Joseph Smith was a polygamist? How many of you ignored the newly found, hidden in Joseph Smith's 1830 Book of Mormon handwritten document by Joseph Smith, as you were continuing to do videos about Joseph Smith being a polygamist and ignoring that document, that original source document? You've already ignored the Book of Mormon. You've already ignored the 1835 Doctrine and Covenants. You've already ignored all of those who came with Brigham, who were the only ones to accuse Joseph Smith. See what I mean? This church told you Joseph Smith was a polygamist. And you believed them. And you left. Because that kind of behavior is wrong. So good for you, you left because that kind of behavior is wrong, but you believed the lie. And you're going around spreading that lie. I left because Joseph Smith was accused of being a child rapist and a wife thief and a rapist. and you get all emotional about it, and you don't listen. I have seen my little Lissa. Time to get out of the tub, Liz. No. Come on. No. And she throws an emotional fit. She's flailing around and she's gonna slip and hurt herself or bash into the tub. And so I have to reach in and grab her. And then she hates me after that. Because she doesn't understand consequences yet. She doesn't know I was trying to protect her. She was only around 4. We were here in Utah, so it was right before she was kidnapped and taken out of the country to Canada. And this is the way Mormons are behaving. They are instantly offended because they're ignorant. They're illiterate. You know, I put Hanukkah on the title of the video yesterday. It's getting a little more attention than normal videos lately. A lot more than the Oaks videos, which I think people stopped watching the others or didn't watch the others because they thought it was the same video. Did you check the times? But yeah, I know, the initial intro was all the same. Because the way YouTube sets it up, people are going to come to the 3rd or the 4th or the 2nd before the 1st, if they even bother to go to the others. Nobody wants to watch things in order, and YouTube won't make it so that it's sick and wrong. Because YouTube has demonstrated that I can get lots and lots of views. But YouTube has demonstrated they maliciously will not allow it. And even though I get more hate crimes, more hate comments, death threats, false testimonials of illiterates, the danger still remains. So, anyway, I'm still rambling on the wickedness of Mormons. You're supposed to purify your hearts to go to Zion, Mormons. No unclean thing can go to Zion. If you're believing in lies, you're unclean. You need to pursue truth. You need to know how to obtain truth. You're needing to read and understand the scriptures. They teach you how to do this. And it's sickening that all these years I've had to constantly repeat what the scriptures are already teaching you, but that Christianity and this church as Christian have blinded you to. And so, yes, I would love to get into the Hebrew of the Bible to show you how awesome it is when it's translated correctly. I would love to go over the Egyptian documents and how the Jewish authors of the Bible plagiarized them. And foremost, I would like us to get to Zion. And it just isn't going to happen. And so this is why I'm concerned. This is why we're doing it at the end, so that those who are evil can go away. And so clearly Hanukkah has to do with setting in order the temple, because it relates to the Greeks with the abomination of desolation, of turning the Jewish temple into the Greek religion and worship, which included sacrifices of forbidden animals among the Jews, but also the advent of sacral prostitution of women, where men go to the temple, pay with offerings, and then reenact the creation of mankind with one of the temple workers. And so prostitution is not the oldest profession, as prostitutes tell you. Farming. And nobody gets, oh my God. I mean, if you want to get technical, rape is more common as older than prostitution. So the comic strips of cavemen knocking out women with a club and dragging them back to their cave is closer to being the oldest profession. Oh, dear God. I came from a comic strip. BC Comics, I think it is. And cave people with dinosaurs. But nonetheless, it's not supposed to be taken literally. Do not turn a BYU movie into a prophetic talk by Lorenzo Snow. Oh my God, they put it in the manual. They were told not to do that. Only put in what he spoke as president. Which, of course, you're going to have those who didn't remain president long enough, so they had to cheat on those. But you're not supposed to do a BYU movie production to claim that's his words. Oh my God. And so, yeah, you got ignorant Mormons who want to defend it as true and do the denialism. You don't know. You don't have the evidence. How do you guys live your lives if you're not going to do the Bible the Bible process? How do you live your lives as a lie? Dear God. So, this is what the church has done. They turned Joseph Smith's temple worship just like the Greeks did to the Jews. You now have to pay to go to the temple, and you have to prostitute women in the church to have sex with them and them only. And it's even worse because there's sex trafficking involved because of Section 119. And Mormons purposely ignore the Book of Mormon. Well, Section 119 says that's tithing, and so they don't want to listen to the Book of Mormon. They don't want to listen to Joseph Smith from 1835, where he goes over tithing is from Malachi. Bring all the tithes into the storehouse for the poor, for Zion. That's the economy of Zion. Joseph Smith makes that very clear as he sets up bishops over the storehouses for each ward. That's Zion. And It's all designed, ready to be built. But it takes righteous Mormons to be brought out of bondage of this church. And Mormons don't want to leave their bondage. They are unaware of the dangers of the consequences that are coming. Because for Trump, he's going to demand every state give loyalty to him. He wants to be bribed. If you do not bribe him, he will punish you. It's like everybody's forgotten. And so Utah must bribe Trump. If Utah thinks the church is in charge, then you're going up against Trump, whom you voted for. Assuming AI is accurate. And so, yes, there will be a civil war in the United States. There are almost around 100,000 undocumented persons in the state of Utah who are receiving, I'm not sure financial, but at least food assistance. And the church loves to enslave these people, have them work for the church, like at the distribution center, and expecting the extortion of joining the church so that they pay tithing back to the church from their paychecks. But Trump wants them out. They're undocumented. Is the church going to cave to Trump? Hand over all their employees that they're paying minimum wage? Part-time labor? Because 100,000 people is going to be a massive dent to the economy, let alone the few who are black in Utah. But there's a high number of those who are colored, whether it's Polynesian or south of the border, who are documented. Under Trump, there is no distinction. Your outward appearance is all he needs to know to lock you up. And you can cry and scream all you want that there's got to be some mistake, I'm an American citizen, and they'll ignore you. Innocent people, innocent civilians will be forced to leave. And so there needs to be an exodus to Zion. And it has to be at the end of the Exodus celebrations. That's what they've been doing all this for. Because previous signs in the heavens with events on earth corresponding to calendars, corresponding to scriptures, have all happened. And for us to have to wait until Hanukkah now, that just crushed me. This is too long already for me. Not for you, because those of you who are still following, not just this video, have not been with me from the beginning. Nobody has been with me from the beginning, not even the one guy who's been here the longest with me. The majority of you are relatively new. And so the updated information, as I go back from the past and bring it up in videos, typically in the pictures, that's new information for you. to again show you it's all real. The Jewish interpretation is happening, and it should astound Mormons. They should be amazed, standing all amazed, that they truly are the ones that all prophecies are talking about. And then at the same time be conflicted because, oh, you're also the enemy. Held in bondage by the enemy. So yeah, it doesn't seem like the latter days will ever end. Even though they're ended. Because technically, Nelson indicated that when Jesus comes, it's now the millennium. Mormons don't accept, like Christians do, that Trump is Jesus, the mouthpiece, the mind and will of Jesus. And so Mormons are still waiting for Jesus to come to start the millennium. And the church purposely leads Mormons astray. They're not changing the name of the church to the Church of Jesus Christ of Millennial Saints. Even though that's what Nelson said. The name will need to be changed. We're no longer Latter Days. When Jesus comes, he'll be the Millennial Christ. Name is to be changed. No longer Latter Day Saints. Jesus is already offended with that nickname. Which was the acronym for Joseph's name of his church. That Nelson is saying that Jesus was upset with Joseph Smith for. And all Mormons miss it. So, another interesting thing. Yeah, Great Salt Lake is gone again. I told you that was going to happen. You can't just put water back in. That won't solve the problem. That water will evaporate too. And yeah, it's gone. The church stole the water. Great Salt Lake dried up. And then the church came out and said, we'll donate water. And now that water's gone. Oh my God, we're all doomed. It's like they're just clueless on how our earth functions. They're just running it into the ground. With that picture that I made of the two earths. So, Revelation chapter 12. And we'll finish it up here. So that's what you're supposed to get from the New Testament when Jesus whips the money changers. That's the Greek practice that I was talking about, which also carried over into the Roman period time. And thus the Jewish author writing about that uses the Jesus character to prophesy of the latter days. That the great and abominable church will do the exact same thing that the Greeks did. Require money for worship and prostitution. And so the money changer thing was all about that. They just didn't use the prostitution thing. As he purposely left out Mary being bought at the temple. Yeah, he didn't want to talk about that prophecy. Another Jewish author did, from the Gnostics. Christians rejected it because it doesn't fit their narrative. But that's what the church has done. And for the fifth dark day of Hanukkah in 2017, for Nelson to usurp Monson's authority on his deathbed, to say that 11-year-old girls can now go to the temple, and for Mormons to be clueless that they're bringing back child bride polygamy. Dear God, Mormons, dear God, you believe the church that Joseph was a polygamist, but you don't believe they're bringing it back with children. But you believe that Joseph Smith did it. And it just, how could any parent just give up their little girls to those creepy old men? How could you be so far gone to believe that that's good? But yeah, there are Mormon guys who are furious with me when I expose the child bride polygamy. They want child bride polygamy, women. Do you understand this? Mormons, because of this church, Mormon priesthood holders want to have multiple wives and little girls. And you're not scared? You're not leaving this church? You don't think it's going to happen, do you? Because you're not studying the words of these prophets? You didn't read Bruce R. McConkie's Mormon doctrine to say it's coming back for the millennium. It's the millennium if it's Trump as Jesus. And if it's not, then you're still waiting for Jesus. What if Utah is able to destroy Trump? The power of Jesus will destroy Trump. But then you were wrong to vote for him, weren't you? You're not thinking. So Revelation chapter 12. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. Everybody in 2017 knew, even though there were the Catholics who were in denial, that this is the 23rd of September 2017, the start of the latter days. And yeah, you can even say a dualism, but not. Matthew does the dualism better. Because the Jewish Christ is a human being, so obviously he's going to have a birth. And there obviously will be signs in the heavens accompanying his birth. And there were, because we are. They're not Christian. But regardless, it's 3 and 4 that we are now dealing with, having to do with Hanukkah. If we have to keep going that far in, rather than tomorrow or Saturday at midnight, the church falls. And the transfer is made so that Sunday the word can go out throughout all the world at the pulpits of church to announce the Exodus, so that this won't be in vain. I even added some information for the bishops for their what was that? I did the live one with the baseball cap. There's that one in there. Was it? And also I did some research on the type of materials for the building. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. So yeah, I'm ready to go. I am trunky. I am just defeated and crushed as we're into the day 7. 7? Or is it? Yeah, 7. No, let's see. Saturday to Saturday is 8. So tomorrow is 7, today is 6. Day 6. I'm gonna have to write that down. Day 6. So, yeah, if for some reason this is not going to be made easy for any of us, and we keep going into Hanukkah, this is an interesting thing that Joseph Smith put in here. Because verse 3 and 4 are separate. That's why it's verse 3 and 4. And there appeared another wonder in heaven. And behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. Verse 3 was Hanukkah in 2017. And this specifically was the 5th dark day of Hanukkah. This is not the sign in the heavens for this year. But this was Hanukkah in 2017. 17th of December, 2017. In the constellation of Serpent's tail, a big old cluster of the amount needed to be these numbers. And so Monson dies with verse 4, which is January 2nd with the quadrantid meteor showers, the 3rd largest meteor showers of the year. And his tail, Draco the dragon, drew the 3rd part, 3rd largest of the year, of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. Falling stars, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Russell Marion, on 9/11/2023. I did a countdown video, and then to cover it up and prove I was wrong, he kept it a secret for 3 weeks. And then announced it for conference. Yeah, 3 weeks ago, on the Monday, after Irene and Oaks wished me a happy birthday, I fell and I couldn't get up. And now I'm in a chair. And now I'm a hunchback with extra padding on my back. Prophecy fulfilled. Because the Perseids were also falling from the heavens. Sign in the heavens in the likeness of things on the earth. And this is Joseph Smith's translation of this passage. And there appeared a great sign in heaven in the likeness of things on the earth. Prophecy and revelation. A woman clothed with the sun, moon under her feet, crown on her head of 12 stars. The woman, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, pain to be delivered. Verse 5 gets moved to verse 3. And she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God into his throne. Sure enough, there's Saturn in Ophiuchus on the 23rd of September 2017. This is Isaiah 6:1 with Isaiah 7:14 about Emmanuel. This is what Matthew is talking about, though there's some issues of difference. Doesn't say that it's Isaiah, but then names the Christ Jesus instead of Emmanuel. Well, Jesus is the reverse spelling of Isaiah. Oh. You gotta know the Jews. And so verses 3 and 4 are then combined into one. And it still doesn't make the match for this one, except for the stars. The tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. did cast them to the earth. That's the only thing that's the same every single year, because it's the quadranted meteor showers. And so, if that's when Nelson dies, how is Irene going to lay his hands on me tomorrow or Saturday? Should be Nelson. Unless Nelson, Oakes, and Holland get locked up and not Irene. So this is why I'm confused, and I have to wait until the fulfillment to then go, oh, of course. Because the dragon is Nelson. But a third part? Yeah, that would be 4 apostles. But that's still not enough to shut down the church. But again, this is Hanukkah. This is after the last day of Hanukkah. The last day of the Exodus, Passover, and the 2 tabernacles is supposed to be the Exodus. So I'm just like, this has already happened. This is all in order in 2017. And so it seems unreal for us to have to extend to Hanukkah now. Unless the church caves and gives half to me to get you to Zion. And that they maintain their church here in Utah and we get to go build Zion. Okay. But that would allow them to admit that they are wrong, which would never happen. This church does not belong to them. Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon do not belong to this church. This isn't even a church, it's a corporation using members to pay them for the mass extermination and coup. And so I have that video, which will be a little quick one. It'll be the clips of the prophets mixed with the events when they happened. But yeah, I'm deeply concerned. Even though it would be great because there's some DVDs I want in November. But I want to get to Zion. I want the abuse to stop against me. Mormons are refusing to repent. Mormons are needing to be compelled to believe. They're needing to be compelled to be good. And that's never good. Because we've learned from the Book of Mormon that if you're compelled to be good, you really aren't good and you always become bad again. And they will not be allowed in Zion. It's very clear that setting in order from Doctrine and Covenants explains this very plain and preciously. And so, not only setting in order the house of God to do away with money, to do away with prostitution, also to arrange by lot the inheritances of the saints. I got the building materials. It's going to be awesome. But prophecies have to happen with numbers 1 and 2 first. The fall and the transfer have to happen first. That's out of my hands. Arrange by lot the inheritances of the saints whose names are found. I've already got it set up. That's the bishop's letters over the pulpit of church on Sunday. That's it. they find out who chooses to go to Zion. You're not forced. You can stay in the world. Good luck with that. But, there were the Mulekites who stayed behind and left after the destruction. And then they finally found them. And they were illiterate. They didn't have scriptures. They weren't studying them. So they created a great spirit of Christianity, Jesus. And they created a different language. It's text language. What the hell did you just say? George, you even spelled it wrong. And so you'll have to be taught. Which, yes, we'll have all languages available to learn in Zion. All languages. Remember, I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew, and thus deciphered every ancient language. All will be made available for all who come to Zion. And so, yes, that's how. There will be books of those who are coming, whether literal or digitally, so that when you guys get to Zion, you will be matched up to make sure you're on the list. And if those who join along the highways, as is prophesied, yep, you can come too. The bishop will make advance notice, or if he didn't have opportunity to contact me, then they get put into a different line to go through the process to make sure that they really did want to come. That they understand that there's no monetary system of economy anymore. And so there is no need for greed, selfishness, theft, murder, rape, to get ahead of other people. Everybody is equal. You get what you need, you get what you want, and you contribute to the storehouse for all to prosper. And so those who are not on the list, who come after the destruction and want to continue to have the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and have a monetary system of economy to pollute the temple and to pollute women with prostitution and sex trafficking, no, you're out. You don't get an inheritance in Zion. And sure enough, your portion shall be among the unbelievers who are wailing and gnashing their teeth. You can complain all you want, you're not getting in. You chose what you wanted to do. You chose. You cannot alter consequences. Evil, wickedness cannot be allowed in Zion to destroy it. It must be righteousness that runs it. And the wicked don't care. They want to destroy. They don't like the consequences when they are destroyed. And they never learn. And so yes, all of the leaders of the church are not going to be in the book of the law. They have apostatized. They are the ones who corrupted the temple and turned the women into prostitutes. They don't get to go. And that's why those of us in the older singles ward called it a meat market. Because men paid for a wife. And so you got to choose which choice piece of meat you get to buy. But if you say prostitute, they're upset. Meat market? Okay, haha. Prostitute? No. It's the same thing. Same thing. You're not going to understand the picture at the beginning of the video, which you're going to be confused at the beginning of my video. What does this have to do with the picture? Have you not watched enough of my videos yet to find out why? So yes, this is what it's all about for Hanukkah. So yeah, I can see having the first group of us leave this weekend. Please. And then over the course of the month, until Hanukkah, the various bishops would arrive in Zion as they get all of those who want to come situated and travel out here. It only takes a couple of days to get to Zion, depending on how far away you are. It's going to take those of us here in Utah a couple of days, and so an extra day for those who are on the West Coast. Those who are on the East Coast, you'll have to make sure that you don't arrive before the first group. So, I probably should put the date of when you guys no, we probably don't need to, because the bishop needs to find out who wants to come, and then has to find out what your situation is, and so that will take time, whereas I'm ready to go. I just need a group of us to go for the first group to set things up. But there's cut off, verse 11, been cut off from the church. See, those of you who are ex-foes, you can come, because Mormons will pass it around and you'll find out from them. You need to understand, you can come. This is not Brigham Young's church. This is not the Church of Jesus Christ. This is Jewish. This is the fulfillment of all scripture prophecies. This is what the church has been lying and covering up from you. This is the truth they did not want you to know. So yes, if you want to come, yeah, you're going to have to start accepting that Brigham Young framed and blamed Joseph. Because if you come to Zion and you think that Joseph Smith was a polygamist, bye-bye. If you come to Zion and you want to have an underground secret economy, bye-bye. But if you want to live in peace, safety, and refuge for you and your loved ones, you're welcome. You just have to love. No more hate. No more shaming and blaming other people. No more hate comments. No more death threats. No more false testimonials. It's sad that most of you are new, so you have not known my fruits. You have not seen them from the beginning when they were the seed. So, but yeah, mixing 3 and 4 is very interesting for this last Hanukkah time. I have no idea how it's going to happen until it happens. I know how it could happen. Lots of different speculations. But just like 3 Nephi 7, I was talking about both scenarios. If Harris wins, it would be MAGA that will secede. Harris is not our president. And if Trump wins, then Harris will say Trump is not our president. Democrats would separate, and that's what it ended up being. So now we got to wait for this to see how it's going to happen. And Nelson last year, oh my hell, rushed out the Danite Ledger. Claiming that it is the fulfillment of Section 119, not 85. Because Brigham Young is not in the book. Oops. Brigham Young's name was not found in the book. Neither was Joseph's. Hiram was. Through the women claimed to be his polygamous wives. Actually, I think Mary Fielding was also involved in there too, which concerns me that they may have gotten to her, or they may have framed and blamed her, because she is a woman. She'd never see the priesthood documents. But yeah, this is what patriarchal abusers do, is they don't educate the women. You know, even Islamic women, they aren't allowed an education. And so therefore, there's no reason for them to read the Quran, because they don't know how to read. And they don't understand why they're being ordered to wear the hijab, which is a symbol of their sexual abuse of their religion. So you keep them ignorant by keeping them illiterate, and then you have them go around the world to be given asylum for their religious abusers as they continue to maintain their religious abuse. And thus they become sleeper cells for the boys who are born up among them. As the boys are educated, as the boys learn the Quran, the boys learn that mommy and sisters need to obey him. But in Western American cultures, they have no clue what any of that means, because they don't study that religion. It's heathen. And so you get fooled with their secret signs and their secret words. Just like Mormons, the Mormons' secret words and signs. So, yeah, we're at an hour and a half, but at least I got it all caught up now. Oh, God. And so, yeah, George, he willingly paid the extortion price to pay back Jesus for his atonement and the prostitution of his wife, to have kids raised up in this bondage, to only breed as LDS. So the Mormons become sleeper cells as well. So yeah, that was the video. This is the video that I wanted to give and I didn't give because I gave the other one yesterday. Setting in order.